What made me go on my villain arc? They always said I was too ambitious, too sensitive, too much, or sometimes not enough. Nobody ever asked what it felt like to be invisible, to give everything and have it stolen before your eyes, to be crushed by the world when all you wanted was recognition. Nobody asked what it was like to be forced to fight for yourself in a world that rewarded cunning and punished kindness. It started when I was very young. I was the child who noticed everything, every whisper, every glance, every small act of disregard. I remembered them all, as if they were etched into my mind. Friends who promised loyalty disappeared when I needed them. Teachers who nodded at the loudest voices never saw the effort I poured into my work. I learned early that life rewarded those who took what they wanted, not those who played fair. That lesson burned into me, shaping every choice I would later make. Middle school became my first testing ground. I experimented with subtle influence, tiny manipulations, small ways to shift attention or outcomes in my favor. At first, it was a game, redirecting blame, nudging someone into a mistake, testing how people reacted. Each small victory awakened something inside me, the intoxicating taste of control. I began to realize that the world operated on leverage, not fairness, and if I wanted to survive, I had to learn to wield it. High school cracked me open. I dedicated myself to excellence, poured endless hours into projects, stayed late helping others, gave more than anyone expected. And yet, nothing mattered. Credit was stolen. Praise went to others. Opportunities passed me by. I presented my meticulously prepared work, and someone else's name was celebrated. Teachers, peers, even friends smiled at the deception, oblivious to the betrayal. That day, I felt a spark ignite, the first real anger, the first recognition that the world rewarded cunning and punished honesty. Every day in that school was a lesson in invisibility. I noticed patterns in how people interacted, how alliances shifted, and how power quietly moved in the background. I began observing, calculating, mentally recording every slight, every chance to get ahead unnoticed. I learned to smile, to appear accommodating, even when inside I seethed. That period taught me the first rules of my villain arc: patience, observation, and subtle influence. College did not alleviate the pain. It amplified it. Professors ignored my contributions. Group projects were dominated by louder, more aggressive classmates who claimed success that was not theirs. I tried patience, explanation, and perseverance, only to find that my effort was invisible. Slowly, I began bending rules invisibly, testing influence, seeing how easily people could be guided. I experimented with subtle manipulations that were never detected. Each small success reinforced my growing understanding that survival required cunning. My first real job became my crucible. I was hired for energy, creativity, and initiative. Within weeks, my ideas were stolen. Colleagues presented my work as their own. Supervisors praised them. I nodded, smiled, internalized the sting, and learned the lesson. Recognition is stolen if you do not seize it. I began testing the waters of influence, experimenting with subtle tactics that gave me advantage without leaving traces. Each small success reinforced the growing sense of power, and with it, the thrill of manipulation became intoxicating. Then came betrayal. Someone I trusted completely, a mentor, a friend, turned against me at the moment I needed support. They thrived while I struggled. Their betrayal left a mark on me, a deep understanding that trust and loyalty could not be relied upon. In that instant, I decided never again to allow vulnerability to be my weakness. I embraced the path that others would later call villainous. I had no choice. Survival demanded it. Mastery of strategy and manipulation became my creed. I remember the first calculated victories, small, methodical moves that built momentum. I studied human behavior in detail, tracking patterns, timing reactions, and influencing outcomes without detection. Every glance, every gesture, every fleeting expression became a data point to be used strategically. I orchestrated events quietly, ensuring outcomes aligned with my plans. The satisfaction of control, of shaping circumstances while remaining unseen, was exhilarating. That thrill fueled the expansion of my villain arc. As time passed, my skills sharpened. I learned timing, patience, subtlety. I could redirect conflict, engineer mistakes, and emerge unscathed while others faltered. I studied the dynamics of relationships, friendships, colleagues, acquaintances, and turned every interaction into a calculated advantage. Each betrayal I endured, each slight I suffered, strengthened my resolve. I understood the rules. Kindness could be exploited, loyalty could be weaponized, and control was the only protection. Even in personal life, caution reigned supreme. Vulnerability was a luxury I could no longer afford. Trust was rationed sparingly. Every decision was calculated. Every relationship was scrutinized for risk and potential gain. I learned to mask my intentions while observing the motives of others. I cataloged subtle cues, studied patterns of behavior, and used this insight to anticipate actions. Empathy became a tool, manipulation became an art, patience became a weapon. Every step I took reinforced the architecture of my villain arc. Anger and frustration matured into deliberate strategy. I no longer reacted impulsively. I anticipated. I no longer hoped for fairness. I ensured outcomes. Each experience of betrayal, dismissal, and invisibility contributed to the structure of my methods. I was patient, methodical, precise. The villain I had become was not born of cruelty alone, but of necessity. Work became a laboratory. I orchestrated complex scenarios, nudging colleagues into missteps, exploiting ambition and overconfidence. I quietly influenced outcomes, ensuring that I remained untouchable. I observed, waited, and struck at the right moment. Every advantage gained was a lesson in strategy. Every observation reinforced my mastery. I was no longer a passive participant. I became the architect of events around me. Even outside work, I applied the same methods. I concealed my intentions, masked vulnerability, and scrutinized every human interaction for opportunity. Love, friendship, and loyalty were now tools, resources to be managed strategically. My decisions were informed by experience and observation. I had learned to use empathy, not for connection, but as a mechanism to anticipate motives and influence actions. People now perceive a villain. Some fear me, some admire me, some avoid me. They do not see the years of invisibility, the countless disappointments, the betrayals that forged each move. They only witness the final, confident, controlled version, the result of every slight, every stolen credit, every betrayal endured, and every lesson learned. The process remains hidden. They see the surface, not the intricate calculation beneath. And yet, the memory of who I once was remains. The child who trusted, who gave freely, who believed in fairness. That spark lies buried, guiding my strategic choices, shaping my understanding of human behavior. It provides insight, direction, and focus. Without it, my power would lack precision. With it, I became nearly unstoppable. And still, the thrill persists. The thrill of orchestrating outcomes, of quietly influencing events, of controlling circumstances that once crushed me. It is not hatred or greed alone. It is necessity, survival, and mastery. It is the satisfaction of finally being recognized, feared, respected. This is my villain arc, deliberate, methodical, slow, and unstoppable. If you've ever wondered what turns someone from the person you once knew into the one everyone fears, the answer is years of being overlooked, of giving and receiving nothing in return, of watching fairness punished while cunning thrives. It is the accumulation of observation, manipulation, patience, and calculated action until morality and survival collide. That is my story. That is my rise. That is my villain arc. And if you want more stories like this, where every shadow has a story and every choice carries weight, don't forget to subscribe to Tale Hub, your destination for tales that keep you on the edge and reveal what lies beneath every human decision.